Hello everybody, this is Kathy from Magnolia Heirlooms. Finally I'm getting around to doing this. I really appreciate your patience with me. We had a death in the family, so it's been a little rough few days. But we're going to get on this and we're going to get going and we're going to get this all done. I have kind of made a timeline and kind of ignore the dates because I'll have to change some of them, of what we're going to do in every 2 weeks. I'll type this up and put it in the files in the Facebook page, but I have it set up so that if every 2 weeks we can accomplish getting these done, then by October 31st or maybe into the first week of November, we can have all of our blocks quilted and ready to put together, and that will leave us the rest of November to do our sewing all our blocks together and finishing up our quilt so that we can have it by December 1st. The first thing that I have tonight or today is for us to do the snowflakes, and they are just stitched blocks, so we're going to go ahead and do all 4 of them. I know that they are for different sections, but we're going to do this while we've got the embroidery file pulled up. We're going to go ahead and get it done. I'm not going to stitch every one of them out. I'm going to do a sample one so that you can see what it's like, or see the process that I go through. And these are my processes. They do not have to be yours. If you find a better way, then by all means go ahead. And if it makes sense to you to do differently than what I've got, you know, that it's your project, so make it yours. First thing we're going to do is the snowflake, and it's just a stitched file, so it's not going to take that long to do. In addition to all the things that we have cut and put in all our little baggies, and this is my little snowflake bag, and it has the snowflake only has the one piece plus the batting, and my batting is just scraps that I have. I long arm quilt for the public, so I have a lot of scraps. So I'm just going to cut them as I go, and it doesn't have to be. You can see that this one is bigger, but once we stitch around it, we're going to trim off the batting. We'll do a tack down and then we'll trim, and that way we won't have any batting in our seams when we sew all our blocks together. So it really, you know, if it's a little oversized or you got a piece that'll fit but hangs over a little, it doesn't matter because you're going to trim it off anyway. All right, we're going to start on our snowflake. I went ahead and did one just to make sure that I was doing it right. And this is the one that I stitched out. And obviously I didn't do it right. I used a different color. It doesn't matter what color, it's up to you. This is your quilt, make it yours. Do as you please as far as colors and all go. I am going to do the background quilting from Kimberbell and the block by block method. So we will do our background quilting first, and then we'll come over and do our applique or our stitched or whatever else we're going to do on top of it. You can do it the traditional method. You can use clear blue tiles from Kimberbell. I just found this to be very easy. I just pulled the files up, and I'll show you how I do that in just a minute. And if you want to do these background quilting, you can get those from Kimberbell. If you'll go to magnoliaheirlooms.com, on the front page we have an affiliate link. If you would please go through that and order your things from Kimberbell through our link, and that kind of helps us too. All right, let's get to this. Now, one other thing, I haven't trimmed this just yet. I think I'm going to do them. And it gives you instructions on the page of what size to trim to. And we're just going to do all those at one time. All right, the first thing we're going to do, I am using a 6x10 hoop. And we're going to hoop our no-show mesh. On my background, I have these shape flex like we did in the beginning videos. And that really actually turned out really well. I did put the batting in between this. I'm not using a backing. I think the shape flex will be fine on the batting. I mean on the backing, because we're going to put a full backing on the quilt when we finish. But you can see there's no quilt. I trimmed that off up here before I stitched it. Before I put down the top fabric. So we're gonna hoop our no-show, and if you've got a better way of being more judicious with this, I would love it. This is a 10-inch roll, and I've come to learn over the years that stabilizer is just a part of it, just like thread. There's no way to piece it back together and you actually to get as good a product as you should. All right, we're going to put our bottom of our hoop in there. We're going to center this in it, and we're going to hoop our fabric. Push that down and make sure there's no wrinkles. And I'm going to tighten it up. I have baby lock machine, so I am using an Altair today. I really like the Altair. I tried to use a different one. I thought, oh, I'll just try that, but I couldn't see the screen, so that's what you get for being blind. All right, I've hooked my fabric. Now we're going to go and do our tack down line. It's in your files, and it just puts your crosshair right in the center so that you can perfectly center, because we're going to center the batting, the background fabric. Then when we put down our embroidery file for the background quilting, we need it centered, and then we're going to lay our embroidery file of the snowflake on top of that, and we're going to so it needs to all be, everything needs to be centered, and that tack down line will help us get started with that. When you put things in your embroidery machine, put it in the order that you want it to stitch. See, I want my tack down line in first. Then I want to do my crosshair, excuse me. I want my crosshair in first. Then I want my background quilting on top of that. And then I want my snowflake on top of that, so that it will stitch in that order for me. All right, I have two two sticks. My sticks are only 2 gigabytes, so they weren't big enough to hold everything that was on the CD. So I have the instructions, which also has the background files on it, and then I have the embroidery files on a different one. So let's see, let's put the embroidery files in, and we're going to go to our embroidery file, and you see the centering crosshair right here. We're going to add that, because that's the first thing that I want put in. You push set, and then I want to add more to it. So I add, so I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to put this one in, and we're going to go back to our files, and for our snowflake 1, it says over here that we are doing 099, and we need the 4x4 design. So we see right here it says 099, Winter 2. Go to embroidery files. I'm not doing the clear blue tiles, I'm doing block by block. I have PES for my embroidery file. Now I'm looking for Winter 2 4x4, and I believe this is the one I want. In these files they give you vertical files, horizontal files. Everything will fit with what's going on with this quilt and other things that you do too. And you see on my machine, I went into my settings and I put a little red crosshair in there so that I still know that we are in the center. All right, I still want to add one more thing. So I'm going to change my, and if you put it all on the same one, you won't be changing around like I'm doing. So I want to go back to my USB. I am doing the stitch blocks, and we are doing the 4x4 snowflake right now. Let's go back and see. Oh, I didn't mean to do that, so I cancel. I can either use this as with my finger, or I can go down like this, and I believe that's still the one we want. Okay, so now I'm going to click set. Now I have everything layered on top there, and you see over here it tells me all the colors. On our book it gives you, when you are it says to choose a neutral color for all the stitching. So you can do different ones for the different tack downs. I don't. I use the same thread all the time. Here it's going to tell you choose a neutral thread. Anywhere you see that little block with the lines on it, it means to choose a neutral thread. When you see the little eyeball, you know that that thread is going to be visible on top. So make sure it's the color that you want. Like on this one, it was supposed to have been blue, navy blue, but I grabbed red and apparently didn't look closely enough. But it doesn't matter. It'll be my quilt. So, all right, we're gonna put in our, and this is all ready, and we're gonna click embroidery. Now that goes to my embroidery thing. And the first thing it tells me is it's gonna do that crosshair. There'll be a little box, at least in baby locks, there are boxes that tell you what you're stitching right then. So even if you aren't sure what you put in first, there are ways to move it around, but it's just simpler to put it in the way you want. All right, I put my hoop in, I put my little door down. Oh, I have to do my thread. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. I don't know that I've ever done that. So we're gonna go up and over, and our foot is up. I can't do it one-handed, sorry. Now we're going to put our foot down and push stop. And it's going to stitch our crosshair. Okay, now we're going to go, the next thing we're going to do, if you look back here, is our tack down line. And that's going to tack our quilt bedding down. So what I'm going to do is fold as best I can. Just gently fold this up. And if you take the 2 folds and put it on the crosshairs, and then unfold it this way, I promise I will have better photography for the others. Now you can tape it down with Kimberbell tape, or you can just kind of hold it. We're just gonna hold it and let it do our tack down stitch. Just watch your fingers. Okay, the next thing I need to do is trim this batting as close as I can to the line without doing the stitches. I can take my hoop out, but not out of the project out. I am going to see if I can do this so that you can see what I'm doing. And you can do a better job when there's not a camera in your way and you have both hands to lay it down on the table to do what you need to do. And you can use embroidery scissors for this, or any good sharp pair of scissors will do. Just try not to cut the stitching line. If you do, it's not the end of the world, because you're going to stitch several more times over it. Okay, I've got it stitched or cut pretty close. Put it back in the hoop. Now I've folded my fabric again. The lighting's not very good. So we're going to lay it, we're going to follow these little marks on our hoop. Get it right. Put this fold and this fold so that you can unfold it. So we're laying along that fold and along this one. We're going to put it down, holding it so it doesn't shift on us. And we're going to use our Kimberbell tape to tape it into place. This is great tape. It doesn't roll up on you. It doesn't stick to your bed of your fabric, bed of your machine. And I'm just going to put it there on the top and bottom. You can do it all the way around if you want. It is whichever way is fine. Now we're going to go back over here and see if I can get you closer. The next thing is going to do is going to stitch around that same place, but now we have our background fabric on it. So we put our foot down. And then we'll go around it twice. And if you happen to stitch over the tape, it's fine. It'll come out from under the stitches. The next thing that we're going to stitch is the line on the outside. You can see it here, and you can also see it up here in the little box. I'm still using the white thread because I don't, later this is going to be your, this will be your stitching line. That will be your cutting line. And I don't want to see any other colors. All right, we're going to stitch it one more time. Now, if you see on our screen, we have the background quilting has come up. So if you want to do that a different color, you can. I think on this one I'm going to do white. It did say these are suggestions. Oops, get it where you can see it. Where those are the colors that you use, and on the last one, which is the green one, we'll do the background in a green color. But on the others, we're just going to do white. So I've already got my white in there. I'm going to put it down and let it go. And then the screen tells me that it's going to be 22 minutes stitch out. While that's stitching, I'll say, go ahead and get you some extra bobbins. Get your colors laid out. I have some extra bobbins that I keep. I use 3-wound bobbins, and I go ahead and get my colors laid out and put them in a row. Okay, I thought I'd give you a close-up of what that looks, because with the white thread in the busy background, you might not can see. It does a really pretty job of stitching on the background. All right, the next thing we're going to do that has come up is the snowflake. And I think we're going to change to this pinky color, coral color. It matches the coral that's in the background fabric. Make sure you put a spool cap of some kind. It needs to be the side. If you have spools like this, it needs to be a little cap like this. That holds tension on your thread just like your tensioner does, and it makes a difference in your stitch outs. All right, so we're going to put our foot down and start stitching our snowflake. Thread didn't go back up in there like it was supposed to, so I'm going to trim that. And take that away. And we won't sit here the whole time watching it stitch. Okay, we're finishing up the snowflake. You see it finish up. It will do the centerpiece from top to bottom, and that's the way you will orient it when you put it into your quilt. And you can tell what the last row was. I'll show you in just a second when it finishes. Okay, we're all done sewing, finished with our embroidery. You can see that this was the last part stitched. that is the way you will orient it when you put it into your quilt. That will be your up and down. So we're going to take this out. We're done, and we can take it out of the hook now. I just going to trim off the excess of this, just because I like things nice and neat. Yeah, I know I'm cutting a little bit off there, but we're going to trim all that off anyway. Or trim it down to a manageable piece. No, I didn't cut through that one little spot. Okay. So that is our second block. And so we just continue with the other two exactly like we've just done, and then we will trim them up to 4.5. It says here to trim your finished block to 4.5 by 4.5. You can use your orange pop rulers from Kimberbell or any ruler that you have in any way that you can do, that you like to square things up. All right, we're going to move on to one more, and it's the Mylar applique block. We're going to use Mylar to applique, and this is called Steam, and it goes above the little hot chocolate cup. Kind of cute. So we again are going to hook our stabilizer like we did before, like what we're going to do on every one. Check your back to be sure it's all the way to the back, because you don't want it popping out. So we have that. We have our little Mylar bag. I'm not going to stitch out these others right now. You've seen how that one goes. We're going to go to our screen here, and what you can do when you're stitching the other two, if your machine, I'm not sure what machine you have, this one I can return, and I can delete the last thing that I put in, which would be, well, I have to just delete it all, because I have to delete that embroidery. But I'm going to leave the crosshatch there, because I'm going to use that on everything. So I've got it. Let's go ahead and pull up the rest of our files. Let's add something to that. I already have my embroidery files in there, and I am looking for seeing which embroidery file it says. We're looking for Steam. Oh, Mylar applique block. And there's our Steam in PES. If you have well, you can do this one in 5x7 too. So I have pulled it up. I'm going to set it. And I believe that's all I'm going to do. All right, now we're going to change our thread. I think I'm going to stick with white. The only two pieces you have, and the Mylar is found in the embellishments block, is your background piece and your little sheet of iridescent Mylar, and it will go on top of there. You have to look carefully, because I almost didn't see it. Okay, let's put our white back on. I'm going to put my hook back in. When you're putting your hook in, make sure it goes in very straight. There's some little pins in there that will bend if you're not careful. Okay. So let's go to our crosshatch and embroider it. Okay, I'm gonna put you can make sure you have it in the center. I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it and be sure that I have it pretty much in the center. Now let's go on to our tack down stitch. You can tape the batting down if you want to. If you feel like it's going to move on you. Now I'll take it out and trim. Okay. Put my hook back in. Let's put our piece in. And I'm just feeling to see where that is because it's going to go just outside of it. Now we're going to do our little tack down for our steam. You see the little squiggly thing? So that will be the tack down. Oh, no, that's wrong. You know what we forgot is the background embroidery. So what we're going to do is go out. And I'm going to delete the steam. Add my background embroidery, which I will have to change these out. And it's okay to take your sticks in and out while you're doing things. It's the lines, and it's right here. Embroidery files, PES. We're doing the vertical design, and we're doing the one 2x4, this one. We want them slanting up to the left. This is the one we want. I'm going to set that. Now we're going to go back and put the steam back in. All right. There's always a fix for a mess up. All right, let's see if we got it right. Oh. We did not. I did not. I cut my thread. What I've done here is it went all the way back to the beginning. So what I want to do is click through and we can use these right here. There we go. We did the tack down. We did the second tack down. We did the third one. Now we want to do our lines. Now we're back to where we should be. Okay. Okay. I'm going to move right on. I also see that I did miss one of those, inside stitch. So we're going to go back. That's the one I want. Now we're ready to go back to where we were. Okay, we did that one and that one. Now we're ready for our Mylar piece, or our tack down stitch for our Mylar. Okay. Now I put my Mylar on, and I'm going to take this on because I'm not sure if that's going to stay where I want it to stay. Still have my tape. I think I'm going to tack it on the sides this time. Okay. When we get through, we'll tear away the excess Mylar from around the edges. If you can see or not, but it's putting a stitch in the center of it too, and it helps hold it in there. By the time we finish with this quilt, you will have just about every embroidery technique down and how to use it. See what's next. We were supposed to tear away the excess Mylar. Just not too late, I don't think. You might need a little pair of tweezers to get right in the center of that. I don't have any handy right this second. But where it's stitched, it tears really well. Before it does its small little satin stitches when you need to tear it all away. And I always, when I stop, I go back maybe 10 stitches just to be sure I've caught everything where it should be. finished with this one. That was relatively quick. So we take it out and we trim this one up to 2.5 by 4.5. It says you cut along the background fabric tack down.